Hello, my friends. Patrick here again. How you doing today? Thank you so much for the feedback that I received on my last video. I was talking about my best guess, and I was talking about the possibility of a hack occurring. And some kind gentleman or person commented on my thing talking about SHA-256. If that was ever hacked, it would mean that all the infrastructure that depends on it would also be hacked. And so, what I was thinking more about is some kind of um, direct simultaneous hack in terms of accessing people's um, information through a different means. I don't know how that would happen. Um, I don't know. Maybe a backdoor in a specific company's software that an update goes out and it accidentally gets access to something. I don't know. I mean, I'm just blue sky thinking here. So I was probably a bit off on that. So I apologize. But if I had to take my best guess, I just want to share with you a couple of books that I'm going through right now. This one here, The Money Mafia by Paul Hellyer, is an excellent book that is covering all the stuff about the IMF and the Federal Reserve, how and when they were founded, and who is really running the power and control of the money in the world, in the globalized world. He calls them the Three Sisters: the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberger Group, and the Trilateral Commission. And when you have the people in power that control the money, that control not only the money, but essentially the banking system together indirectly with the war machine, for want of a better word, the the funding and continuation of the American war infrastructure, military infrastructure. So the major military manufacturers, the people that control that huge infrastructure are the people with the power. And the people with the power have the strength to enforce essentially whatever it is that they want. So my best guess for Bitcoin, I call this channel Bitcoin for Canadians. And there seems to be a kind of this underlying theme that you know that Bitcoin is able or is going to destroy fiat in some sense. There's even a an exchange in Canada. I believe it's called Bull Bitcoin, Bullet Bitcoin, Bull Bitcoin. I forget how it goes. And their slogan is to destroy fiat or something like that. I have to look it up again. But I don't use their service. But they have their goal. Destroy fiat. And the thing is that I've come to the conclusion. I'm also reading this one at the same time, The Empire of Illusion by Chris Hedges. And in the chapter on the illusion of America, I'm just getting into the last chapter, talking about how America works, how the money works, how the Federal Reserve works, how the IMF works. So there's a bit of dovetailing between these two books. And it also was touched on in Noam Chomsky's book, The Hegemony or Survival, that I finished this past summer. Anyway, to make a long story short, the people with the power, the people with guns that can impose what they want, that impose what they want on both sides of the political spectrum, whether it's the Democrats or Republicans, whether it's the liberals or conservatives, the people with the strength, the political strength, the financial strength, and the military strength to impose what they want to do will be the ones who decide whether Bitcoin gets banned or not. If they decide to introduce legislation to ban the use of Bitcoin in however different types of meanings that can come up with, just as they banned Bitcoin mining in China, and that did cause an impact on the price of Bitcoin, that will decimate the price of Bitcoin, right? What it would take it down to, I don't know. And it would force, people joke, oh, well, maybe I'll have to move to El Salvador. Well, how many people really want to move to a country with which they're not familiar? Now, as more countries adopt Bitcoin, if Mexico really starts to adopt Bitcoin, I think that could be a great thing. You could start to see some genuine, not trivial migration to other locations that are more friendly. That could happen. But if you may be sitting on $1 million worth of Bitcoin. If that gets decimated down to $10,000, then are you still going to want to move to a less developed country than where you're at? To El Salvador or Central America or wherever? Probably not. So ask yourself why you don't see as much Andreas Antonopoulos. All his videos on the internet are like 3 and 4 years old. And now he basically only talks amongst his Patreon subscribers in private functions that he wants to go to. He's like, nah, I don't need this exposure. I'm guessing that somebody from a powerful level might have spoke to him and said, okay, that's enough. When we decide that somebody is talking too much, then they intervene. You hear stories of people that these Russian oligarchs, maybe there's some of them that had large Bitcoin involvement and they're not around, or put 2 and 2 together with any other important people that's involved in the crypto space. If they don't want them around, they're not going to be around. You get what I'm saying, right? So it's all great to have a vision, to have a hope, to have an ideal scenario for Bitcoin as becoming the global currency. But unless it can benefit or be controlled by the people that have control over the guns, then you're being naive, right? We can't be naive in a world that is controlled by very, very powerful people that have a very aggressive outlook on life, to put it mildly. When you have people that are in control of supplying most of the world's armaments, those are the people that, and it's a paranoia. Sure, they say they. Who's they? Well, this is who you can find out, right? Paul Hellyer. He was Canada's longest serving member of the Privy Council in Canada. He was first elected at the age of 25 as a member of Parliament. He served under the governments of Lester Pearson, Pierre Trudeau. He just passed away at age 90, 91, 92 in 2021. And I think he was the, unification of the Canadian Armed Forces. I believe he was the Minister of Defense in Canada for a while. This guy was well connected. So when you take somebody that knows what they're talking about and learn from what they're talking about and see what they have to say about the situation, then you realize that there are interests that are unseen, that are very, very powerful, and they decide what is permissible and what is not. And so what's my point? Let me summarize what I'm trying to say here is that I'm very hopeful for Bitcoin to gain adoption and gain use. I'm very hopeful. And I'd like to slowly invest in Bitcoin. I'd like to slowly use it more often and to use it to buy and sell different things. But I'm keeping my eyes wide open. That's all I'm saying, is that I don't have any kind of how do I put it? I don't know. I'm coming off the rails here. I apologize. Let me wind this up. How can I summarize this video? We got to wait and see, right? We got to wait and see whether the other shoe is going to drop, whether they're going to introduce legislation to restrict the use of Bitcoin, whether they're going to introduce legislation to cancel it altogether. Of course, it'll never be totally canceled. Of course, it'll be used, whether they drive the price down to the point where they're able to scoop up a controlling interest in it going forward. I don't know. The more people that are able to take a small ownership, and the more widely that ownership can get distributed, the better chance it has, especially if the fiat currency begins to lose value in a dramatic way. That would make Bitcoin more useful, more necessary, and hopefully able to compete against the central bank digital currencies, which are obviously going to be being promoted as a method of control, as a form of currency, as a form of payment. And the only way that we have hope is as a human species, as a global population, we can start to think globally and start to think, okay, yes, I'm a citizen of this country or that country. Yes, I'm a citizen of Canada, of the United States, of Australia. I'm a citizen of Germany, France, wherever you're a citizen. But then you have to start thinking, okay, I'm a global citizen, right? I'm going to live and operate and work across borders and support living as a sovereign citizen, independent citizen, a global citizen that supports what is good and right and just. How else can God's kingdom come to earth? You know, we pray and say, oh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. How is it done in heaven? Well, you have God at the top, and on earth, if we put God at the top, that's the last chapter in the last paragraph. I confess I jumped ahead to the last paragraph of the book. It's a nasty habit I have. I often do that. And I'll finish with this. The bottom line is that we can listen to the voice of our Creator and his helpers. I guess he's got helpers that he talks about. Or we can attune our ears to the evil one and his followers. Quite a few earthlings have chosen the light and are making a real difference. They have to be joined by a tsunami of lives willing to follow God's rules instead of our own desires. That includes trying very hard to live according to the golden rule, which is universally endorsed by all major religions. The choices we make will determine the history we are writing. I would agree with that. I want to do as I would be treated myself. I want to treat others the same way, the golden rule. I want to follow the golden rule. I want to promote fair trade between people. I want to escape from being oppressed by having debt to institutions that are able to make money out of thin air and lend it out when they only keep 5% as a reserve and then keep me in debt for the rest of my life. I want to escape out of debt. I want to have access to stored energy, stored currency, stored effort that doesn't depreciate 5, 10, 20% per year over time so that it disappears in value over 50 years. I'd like to preserve that and pass it on to the next generation. And so I'm also going to include a clip. I don't know if I did already, but I'm going to, I took a clip from one of Michael Saylor's interviews when he talked about, he said, what happens if you, and this is important, stay with me on this one. He said, what happens if you invest a certain amount of money in Bitcoin and then you drown together with your keys? He said, at least you'd be contributing to the good of society. How so? Well, I'm going to let Michael Saylor explain it. I'm going to take that clip and I'm going to post it to my channel so that you can see what I'm talking about. And it triggered something in my mind because after I saw that, I said, I'm not scared of getting scammed in Bitcoin anymore. I'm not worried about it. Because if the effort was genuine, The woman that put in her 2 mites, she gave all she had. You know, if the effort is genuine to trying to make the world a better place and saying, okay, I'm going to give what I can to invest in something that I believe in. And if I go down with the ship and lose my keys, so be it. I tried to make the world a better place. I tried to, you don't want to lose your keys on purpose, but you want to contribute to the network. And by contributing, if that value goes down to 0 or to fractions of a penny somehow, so be it. Maybe it won't rise up again in price for another 50, 100 years, so be it. Maybe it'll get banned in 196 countries, so be it. But maybe it'll start to get accepted in Mexico, in Tonga, in El Salvador. Slowly here, slowly there. There's that analogy of the yeast working through the bread. He said the kingdom of God is like yeast that gets worked through the bread a little bit at a time, and then it slowly, slowly gets worked through until the whole thing, it works through. And in the meantime, I'm going to pray that God's kingdom comes here on earth so that we can live in harmony and peace and not indirectly fund a war machine that has to keep feeding itself to maintain its death grip on society. So thank you for watching. God bless you. We'll talk to you again. Sorry I droned on a bit too long, but I'm gonna definitely get that video of Mike Saylor talking about what I'm talking about so that you can take a look at it too, okay? Thanks a lot for watching. We'll talk to you later. Take care now. Bye-bye.